here, guys, we're going to be reacting to a Soviet cartoon expose colonialism. Geez, the African tale. Wow, I think this one here is really gonna be interesting, man. Bros, let's just go feel this Soviet point of view. Let's not waste no time, geez, let's go.
Imagine a cartoon from 1963 that treats colonialism not as an exotic backdrop, but as a brutal human drama. In the opening scene of the African tale, a joyful white elephant, symbolizing a colonial invader, grins broadly as it brings gifts, cigarettes, and glossy magazines to a black man living alone in the African jungle. The scene is almost cheerful, but there's an unsettling edge. We know something is off. This unexpected image, a smiling colonial beast in a Soviet animation, is our hook. What is this story? It turns out to be a piercing allegory of imperialism, remarkable for its era. In a medium where Western cartoons often mocked or caricatured Africans, the African tale dared to show its black hero with dignity and depth. It raises a question that lingers: how did a short Soviet cartoon come to portray Africa's struggle so boldly?
Okay, let's go find out. African story. Wait. Based on the parable of Jomo Kenyatta about the struggle of the people of Africa against the colonialists. Okay. Damn. Okay. My G's, I'm so damn glad to open this one. Let me not lie. And it's like a movie though.
Жил черный человек на своей земле. Щедро давала она свои плоды ему, ибо трудился он на ней в поте лица своего, как трудились и отец его, и дед, и прадед.
Bros, I'm so damn focused, bro. Yeah, man. And I love cartoons so much.
Но как-то раз на земле человека появился некий гость. гость растрогался. Какая богатая земля. Мне чертовски повезло, что я здесь первый из зверей.
Посмотри, человек, не слишком ли бесцеремонен твой гость?
А, черт.
Bro, I swear to God, man. Like, yeah, okay, this is a cartoon, right? But it's almost the truth, like 100%, man. Damn, I know we're not done yet, but bro, it's like, damn, a real life thing, for real. My G's, okay, let's go on.
Пока человек увлеченно приобщался к высокой цивилизации, слон сожрал все, что мог. А так как пошел дождь, то настала очередь хижины. Человек обрадовался, что высокий гость лично посетил его скромное жилище. Но у слона были свои планы.
Ты удивлен, что так получилось, человек? Погоди. Господин слон сейчас тебе все объяснит.
Видишь ли, парень, твоя черная кожа покрепче моей, да и здесь нет места для двоих, так что оставайся там, а я тут. Не скучай.
To understand why the African tale exists, we must set the clock to the early 1960s. This was the high noon of decolonization. In 1960 alone, 17 African nations won independence. By 1963, the year this cartoon premiered, Kenya had just shattered British colonial rule, electing Jomo Kenyatta, the former author of the story on which the film is based, as its president. Globally, the Cold War powers were vying for influence. The Soviet Union, which had formerly shown little interest in Africa, now saw an opening. The USSR took little interest before the 1950s, but decolonization of Africa offered opportunities to expand their influence. Soviet leaders publicly championed national liberation, offering aid and ideological support to anti-colonial movements. Artistic propaganda was part of this. Posters and films celebrated African heroes and denounced Western imperialism. For example, a 1961 stamp proclaims freedom to the nations of Africa. By contrast, much of Western media at the time either ignored African realities or depicted them in the old colonial cliché. As one scholar notes, US cartoon studios like Disney and Warner Brothers created many racist cartoons through the mid-1960s, perpetuating gross stereotypes of black people. In that environment, the African tale stands out as astonishingly ahead of its time. A modern viewer marvels that while Looney Tunes was still relying on minstrel show humor, this Soviet film depicts a black man as an actual human being. The setting, a Soviet studio in Moscow, seems unlikely for such a compassionate portrayal. This contrast is no accident. It reflects the Cold War narrative that framed the USSR as an ally of oppressed peoples, in opposition to the West. As one researcher succinctly puts it, the cartoon reflects the struggle of a black man against colonizers for freedom and independence. And indeed it does, right from the very first frames. The story of the African tale is a concise fable drawn from a real African parable, The Gentleman of the Jungle by Jomo Kenyatta, written in 1938.
Damn.
Что тут происходит? Спросил неожиданно появившийся лев.
Bro, let me not lie. I'm some kind of sad though because this is a black history. You know what G's have gone through over these years. How we lost our lands and our property to those fucking, colonialists that came and take over our old thing that we had. Bro, we were just simply good with the little we had, bro. Yeah, we were not intelligent. We weren't this, we weren't that, but we were just good on our own before they came. Damn, it's sad, for real, man, But anyway, we're still not done.
Отнял у меня хижину.
Как ты смеешь клеветать на моего лучшего друга? Под суд!
Вот ты уже и под судом, человек.
Слово потерпевшему, объявил председатель Лев.
Господин председатель, уважаемые господа, я глубоко тронут вашим горячим желанием защитить меня от грубых нападок моего отсталого черного друга. Благодарю вас. Благодарю. Но, господа, прошу вас, будьте снисходительны к бедному черному человеку. Ему надо терпеливо объяснить, что в обмен на щедрые дары нашей цивилизации он обязан отдать то, что у него есть. Плоды, хижину, землю, а не вызывать возбуждение безответственными протестами. Именем высокого и авторитетного суда. Обвинение.
Человек, слушай же решение суда.
Умышленное нападение на господина слона, присвоение имущества господина слона, сигарет и журналов. Виновен.
Решение наверняка будет справедливым.
Попытка вломиться в хижину.
Ведь господа звери известны как беспристрастные джентльмены. Издавна самим Богом призваны охранять интересы низших рас.
Виновен по всем пунктам и заслуживает самого строгого наказания. Но, учитывая отсталость и дикость человека, суд считает возможным на первый раз простить его и разрешить ему построить себе новую хижину.
Вот видишь, какие доброжелательные судьи. Сама справедливость.
Fuck. this crazy. And anytime if he wish to fight back, bro, he knows that okay, he might lose it all. For real, he will end up in court again, get judged, and bro, no justice. Because bro, they all together. Why he's alone? And even though he's with someone, bro, he can do nothing. He can do nothing. Wow, damn. Okay. Calm down. That's it. Fuck shit.
Что же ты теперь будешь делать? Хорошо еще, что они не стали судить тебя за новые преступления. Воистину, они к тебе доброжелательны. А может быть, ты действительно виновен? Виновен в том, что не похож на них. Виновен в том, что это твоя земля. Ведь надо же что-то делать.
A summary of the film's plot makes the allegory clear. A black man lives peacefully on his fruitful land. One day a white elephant arrives declaring, "What a rich land. I'm damn lucky to be the first of beasts here." He befriends the man, giving him a cigarette and glossy magazines, fetish objects of Western civilization. Distracted by these gifts, the man starts to enjoy high civilization, leafing through shiny ads and pinups, while the elephant gobbles up everything he could and occupied the owner's house. The man, bewildered, appeals to a court of jungle animals to evict the intruder. At the trial, the white elephant brazenly demands that in exchange for his gifts, the man must give everything and make no fuss. The lion judge, the elephant's close ally, blames the man for slandering the elephant's best friend. Predictably, the court rules against the man. In fact, it declares him guilty though backward and perhaps deserving pity. The man is allowed to rebuild a new hut, but each time he erects one, it is immediately snatched by another colonizing beast, a rhinoceros playing a cardinal's role, a hyena the prosecutor, a crocodile the advocate, and so on. Finally, the man constructs a large communal hut. As all the animals crowd inside, squabbling for ownership, the man calmly sets fire to it, and in panic, the colonizers flee, scattered into the jungle. In the end, he has tricked them out of his home and reclaimed his freedom. These narrative beats are loaded with symbolism. The animals are unmistakable stand-ins for European powers, each drawn with particular mannerisms. Even the names suggest it. The white elephant hints at a European colonial giant. The lion evokes British imperial majesty, etc. One Letterboxd reviewer captures it well. The film portrays all of Africa's major invaders as animals, with mannerisms so specific you can identify each country they represent. Crucially, the black man is never savage or infantilized. He works the land by day, stands quietly by night, and displays patience, intelligence, and ultimately courage. He is portrayed as a human being in full, not a caricature. As one fan enthused, this is probably the single best portrayal of colonialism they've ever seen. The hero isn't some caricature of a wild or savage man. He's shown as beautiful and strong and heroic. That heroism comes through in the allegory. The African hero is literally the man who outsmarts and withstands the predators, becoming the moral center of the story. In fact, a viewer praises how the fable represented the native African as man and the colonizing forces as animals, noting that the careful rendering of the man's face drove home his humanity. The allegorical symbolism is sharpened by explicit details. The white elephant safari suit, the glossy Western magazines, and the very courtroom drama underscore that this is colonialism mapped onto a jungle. None of this is vague. It is a blunt visual critique of exploitation. The colonizers speak the language of promises and order gifts, civilization, law, but the animation pulls no punches in showing their greed and cruelty. Even in its simplicity, Every scene of the plot, from gift to lawsuit to fire, feels loaded with intention. As one Russian academic summary notes, the African Tale is explicitly a story of the struggle of a black man against the colonizers for freedom and independence. This makes the film much more than a children's cartoon. It is a concise, bold parable of resistance.
И человек решил действовать. Вот вам новая хижина. Одна на всех.
So that's really crazy though. The strategy was nice because yeah, he built a bigger house and all the colonialists were about fighting for who is gonna have it. You know, that's really what Damn, no, this a real life story though. Like this is history for real. You know, countries fighting for like the colonialists fighting for country, which you know just making war just to overtake the country and be there and instead things and so that they can. You guys know, well, bro, this one is crazy. It's crazy for real. This war.
Ну а теперь...
Дорого обошлось человеку знакомство со звериной цивилизацией. Но зато он многое понял и многому научился.
Beyond its plot, The African Tale is striking for its creative style. The animation is hand-drawn in a deliberately spare, folkloric manner. Backgrounds are often minimal, fields of golden grasses or simple night skies that keep the focus on characters as archetypes. The animals are drawn with expressive but not cartoonishly exaggerated faces and postures, fitting their roles. The elephant with a sly grin, the lion with a regal scowl, the hyena with a sly smirk. Meanwhile, the black protagonist is depicted with distinct, dignified features. His face and posture reflect thoughtfulness and resolve. Notice how even in moments of defeat or struggle, his visage remains proud and human. The filmmakers use music and narration to reinforce the mood. The composer Ivar Arsev was known for evocative scores, mournful drums and plaintive woodwinds evoking Africa's soul, while a measured voiceover tells the story with gravitas. One viewer praised the orchestral music that bookends the cartoon as serene, heightening its bittersweet poetry. In short, every artistic decision from color choice to camera angle seems geared to respect the subject. There is none of the slapstick or derision typical of many cartoons at the time. Critically, even in its art style, the animators reinforce the message. The protagonist is drawn as a human being, never a caricature. A modern reviewer observes that while American cartoons still trafficked in racist tropes, this film gave its hero an actual human being treatment. This is vividly clear in close-up scenes. His eyes are calm, his strength palpable. The film's design choices underscore that this black man is the story's hero, not a background prop. Why does a 15-minute cartoon from 1963 matter today? For several reasons. First, its perspective was far ahead of its time. As one commentator notes, the African Tales themes have aged far better than those of mid-century American cartoons, which were then often on the verge of being minstrel shows or romanticizing colonial exploits. In other words, even in 1963, this Soviet film offered a more progressive portrayal of African identity than most Western media of the era. Unlike many contemporaneous works, it grants its black protagonist complexity and agency qualities often still missing in later portrayals. This makes it resonate powerfully today. Secondly, the film reframes the historical narrative. Western education often glossed over or justified colonialism. Here, animators depict it raw as exploitation and deception. The fact that it was released the same year Kenya became independent is not a coincidence. The cartoon stands as a piece of political art, a moral fable preaching that freedom and dignity trump the hollow gifts of an occupier. In doing so, it honors voices rarely heard in Cold War media. It reminds us that even in 1960s Soviet cinema, empathy for Africa could be strong and poetic. Finally, The African Tale has a unique legacy in animation. It is often cited by animation enthusiasts as a hidden gem. One notes it as anti-colonialism at its best. Another calls it a fascinating anti-colonialism fable. Its very existence has inspired questions and discussions online. Why did the USSR produce this cartoon? What does it say about art under Soviet rule? For African viewers, it offers a rare early example of seeing themselves as empowered rather than mocked. Even now, it can serve as a teaching tool about propaganda, history, and the power of storytelling. As one fan observes, in The African Tale, black characters were granted more compassion and love than most modern programs. In short, this little film endures because it gave dignity and voice to those denied it. In the end, The African Tale stands as both a historical curiosity and a timeless fable. It begins with a simple, open question: who will prevail, the lone villager or the parade of civilized predators? And by the closing frames, it answers emphatically: resistance and cunning restore justice. The final image of the smoldering hut and scattering beasts still rings with victory and warning alike. We are left with an open loop. What other stories from the past have we missed, where art quietly challenged power? Perhaps the greatest lesson is this: even in unexpected places, genuine empathy and truth can find voice. As one thoughtful viewer puts it, the film reminds us that art and politics can entwine beautifully, a lesson that remains urgent. In remembering The African Tale, we honor a moment when animation became revolutionary history. It begs the viewer to reflect: will we cherish such unexpected gems of resistance, or let them fade into obscurity?
Yeah, wow. This was really a lot. It was really a lot. I love the way this one has been done, bro. And most especially the story behind it, man. Yeah, we all know things like that has been going on for years. We all know this was how everything started. Man, you guys know. But man, it's some kind of getting me sad that okay, bro, we just lost it all due to our need for civilization, bro. You know, I nobody asked for that because these G's were just good on their own, though. But man, you know, we were being deceived into some useless fucking shit civilization and all those bullshit. Well, you know, there's a lot to say, but I just don't want to go too deep into those down because man, this is really getting me crazy. Anyway, my G's, thanks to you all, thanks to the Soviet for understanding too that okay, the black people, you know, the humans before all, no caricature, no fucking bullshit, you know, everything well done. Well, peace out, my G's.